Look at me getting started with my tech problems right away. It's the way we do it here in Mad Poet Land, kids. Well, I got vocals, okay. Yeah, I took a mental note to turn that sound back on, and then I did not do it. So, welcome all. Thanks for coming in. I hope you are enjoying the parts of the show that you can hear. I had my clean tone channel turned off for a bit, and things were just, we're having fun with it, is what was happening. Hey, Glenn, so who we got here today? We got Therese, we got Glenn, we got Renee. That's all I'm seeing in here so far. Welcome all, everyone watching on any of the channels. I'm glad you're here. It's always a good time in Mad Poet Land. Sometimes we have tech troubles. This album has been a little problematic. I must admit, I played this last week and I was having all kinds of internet stuff going on. This week I'm forgetting to turn my sounds on. So we're just gonna see where things lead us. Get the tech problems out of the way first. Absolutely. You know, I gotta say, it's been. I was having this trouble a lot in like the first 5 months I was streaming. I did that a whole bunch, but it's probably been like 6 months since I've made that particular mistake. So not bad on that front. Not bad. I'm coming along nicely. So anyway, we are here. I am the Mad Poet. You are an audience. Thanks for coming in. We are playing Infinity Minus One. This is my second album. And my first album came out in 2004. This album came out in 2018, August 3rd, I believe, is the date that this was released. And then I went into this kind of crazy rapid fire succession of releasing music for about 11 months and released 49 albums in that time period. I'm up now beyond that. I'm up to my 64th album. So this is kind of a blast from the past, so to speak. And it's a fun album. This is one of those that really kind of sticks in my mind as being a very pivotal time, because the prep work that I did to be able to do this album was basically what enabled me to do the rapid fire music production that I ended up doing. And totally worth it. Totally worth it. And I enjoy the album. It's got some fun material in it. It's very fun for me kind of looking back and seeing how my process has changed and how my music has changed over the last few years and tons of albums, and it's just fun. So this album is called Infinity Minus One. The song I just played is also the title track, Infinity Minus One. And for those who are in the know, you will recognize that comes from, of course, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, some of my favorite books of all time. This next song, also the title of this, comes from The Hitchhiker's Guide. We're gonna get into a little C sharp minor here. We do got G sharp minor coming up in a bit. We'll do some C sharp minor here. This is called 2 to the power of 276,709. And if you don't know what that means, it's probably just because you haven't read the guide. right. I feel like things might be working now. Things might be working out. Looks like Tom got here. Welcome, Tom. Thank you for joining the chat. It was pleasant to see you. We got something. Of course. Ah, Doc is back at work, huh? That's a shame. It's always good having Doc in chat. But you know what? We can have a good time without Doc. He was a fine moderator. But, you know, my streams just really don't need much moderation. I got a pretty laid-back, cool crowd, so we're good. And he took yesterday off. Good for him. That's a fine move on his part. I fully approve. Well, I'm glad we got Renee here tonight. This is his second album, Infinity Minus One. On my very first album, I actually dedicated the entire album to my daughter. On this album, I dedicated this next song to her. And it is a shame that Doc's not here for it because we are getting into Red Dwarf land with the titles. This one is called Echoes of the Future. And so we are. Got my time frames a little mixed up there. These older albums, I wrote the sheet music kind of to a different standard, so to speak. So they don't always look quite like what I'm used to seeing. So we got my parents here. Awesome, thanks for coming in. I think just about everyone here probably knows them, at least from chat. It looks like I see them on Facebook and on Twitch. So joining the crowd in the multi-platform viewing, which of course we are always welcome to do. Yeah, they are not in Arizona. They are up in the Western Washington area. You know, Tom, really no need to apologize. Worst things have happened to him once or twice. Yeah. Yeah, she did hike the Grand Canyon. My parents have both hiked the Grand Canyon. They're pretty awesome. I hit a jackpot and with parents, and Renee definitely hit a jackpot with grandparents. So we did all right with that. They're good. I think my parents should probably be the model by which parenting happens. That would be a good way for things to occur in life. So, yep. Thanks for being good parents. Thanks for being a good daughter. Thanks for being a good crowd to everyone out there. So this next one, I don't think Sarah's actually watching. She's been working on her Spanish. So I believe right now she's reading Harry Potter in Spanish. But this next song is dedicated to her. And I definitely hit the jackpot on that one. That was, to this day, I'm still very glad I asked Sarah out on that first date. That worked out well for us. Keeping with our Red Dwarf theme. And let's see if let me make sure all my correct sounds are actually on for this. Looks like I might be in good shape here. We're gonna see. This next piece is called Smeg. So for those who did not see my stream last night, the electricity references and jeans references were actually, last night I pulled out my 1910 Minnesota Model A sewing machine that does not use electricity and was working on sewing together a new pair of jeans. Because I haven't bought a pair of jeans in like 12 or 13 years. And I kind of told this story last night. There were a few people watching. It was fun. I've been sewing my old jeans ever since this time that I went out to buy jeans and went to like 5 department stores and no one had my size. So I was like, forget it, I'll just make my own. And so I did. And that first pair of jeans I made took like 3 days, like 8-10 hours a day. It was just like brutal. They came out great. And I've been making my own jeans ever since. It's been pretty awesome. We have one here. Well, I think we've got like 11 sewing machines in the house. Our oldest one is from the 1880s. That one's not working right now. We'd have to do a little work on it. My Minnesota is from somewhere in the neighborhood of 1905, 1910. It's kind of hard to tell. And so those are our oldest ones. And then we've got a white rotary that was a treadle converted to electric. And then we've got a slightly newer Singer that's probably like 20s or 30s that was made electric. And then we've got some more modern stuff as well. We've got some really cool sewing machines here. Sarah and I both do a bit of sewing. You know, and I'll tell you, I was talking about this also last night. I am like mediocre. I can do stuff, but I'm not fast, and I definitely have my limits. It's very admirable to people who can just like really knock it out of the way. My mother's like that. She can make any freaking thing. It's cool. It's skill. It's good stuff. All right, let's play some music. Kind of feeling it here. It's a little bit of a weird show, actually. I just as I was playing that particular song, I got to the part where my front lights all turned off, and I was like, oh, that's right. Last week I noticed this because how can't I? And then I forgot to rectify. I should make myself a note right now, and then we'll play some music. So let's get a little notepad out. On Smeg. Okay. Trying to actually remember to rectify that. Fortunately, most of the camera angles, there's enough of a visual. It still kind of works a little bit. I always get through it somehow. All right. So we're moving on to song number 5 of my second album, Infinity Minus One, for those who are just coming in. That's what we're playing here tonight. This song is called, and we're picking it up a little bit here. We're kind of getting back into the higher speed stuff. This is called The Darkest Hour. Okay. Okay, we're gonna slow it down a little this time, looks like. Got going here. Yeah, slowing down a bit, down to about 90 beats a minute. We're playing in D minor. What we got going on in chat here? It is like deja vu all over again. White Hole. What is it? We'll not be playing that tonight. That's right now, since I put these 4 newer lights in, those 2 there, which I really like what they're doing. It's really hard to get my hand to, there we go, pointing the right direction in the camera behind me. I've actually only set up lights for this particular album, so I got to modify, every time I modify my lights, I have to modify every album that I'm going to play. And that's one of the reasons that we're doing this twice in a row. I mean, I didn't want to do better than last week, and then I had my sound off when we started. So, you know, like I said, this album's been a little interesting lately. A commentary emergency. That does happen. I'm glad it sounds good. Thank you, Tom. Much appreciated. I always wonder about, and it's always a weird thing being on in any kind of a performance setting. It's like I'm hearing completely different things than an audience is hearing. And it's an interesting thing about doing online shows. Because, you know, I've done, like I played a concert in Tom's backyard, and it was wonderful. It was classical guitar, and I've played shows for, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people. I've had crowds, you know, as big as 1,000 people, which is amazing. And I've had little in-home shows, and I've done coffee shops. I've done, you know, shows with 3 people, and shows with hundreds of people, and it's always very different. But it's cool that I can actually have people give me feedback, like, oh, hey, your sound is off. Oh, your guitar sounds wrong or something. It's a very cool thing about the online aspect of it. So it's been cool to kind of have that interesting level of feedback that I've never gotten before. But it is good to know that things are sounding good. Thank you very much. So yeah, we're gonna slow it down. Get into some D minor action here. This one I talked about last week. You know, you read these sci-fi books, you see Firefly and Star Wars, Trek, and, you know, all the the sci-fi stuff, and he was talking about parallel universes. Oh, and skip into a parallel universe, and I'm over here, and it's Randy Jr. And but I was like, oh yeah, parallel universe. But what about perpendicular universes? Tom's going on a hot air balloon ride. I've never done that. I am a licensed pilot. I haven't flown in years. I flew some small airplanes out in the Western Washington area for a couple of years. Had a great time doing it. Never did a hot air balloon. I bet it'd be a blast. You know what you could do, Tom, is flawless karaoke in a hot air balloon. Wouldn't that blow everybody away? Yes, it would. Yeah, that should be a good time. Report back, please. I'm sure everyone would like to hear about your trip. You know, that's something I just realized. Since I moved to Eastern Washington, I don't think I've seen a hot air balloon. Maybe the environment is not as good for it over here. I don't know. So I used to see those all the time over in Western Washington. And I live not far from the Snohomish Airport where I mostly flew out of. And they had a hot air balloon place where there were some all the time, but I don't think I've seen a balloon since coming over here. Madness. Pure Eastern Washington madness. Well, then do flawed karaoke. That's always a thing. I've done karaoke and it was flawed. It was very flawed. I am still working on my vocals. Haven't written much more on that vocal album. Still don't know if I'll actually release it. But I do feel like I'm coming along. I think it's becoming a possibility more and more. Time will tell. I love singing, but I've had to overcome some pretty significant obstacles. I've overcome a lot of them, but I don't know if I've overcome them enough to be satisfied with where we're at. I need to do another set of recordings with my vocals and see where I'm sitting with everything. See how I feel with it. I'll also say, since my parents are watching here, this new smoke machine they got me is really efficient. This puts out a lot more smoke than my last one. I find myself not hitting the button nearly as often, and it's good. It's much better than the last one, and as many people have pointed out, hasn't caught fire. In my hometown of Sierra Vista, they used to have one day a year where hundreds of hot air balloons would launch in the morning. You could look up in the sky and see literally hundreds of hot air balloons floating around in crazy shapes. There was a pig, and a milk carton, and a bunch of classic ones. Super cool stuff. I've heard of that. Well, I've probably heard of it from you, since we know each other a little. We've met. But yeah, I bet that would be pretty awesome to see that, man. Probably the most I've ever seen at one time is 5 or 6. And even that's pretty cool. But hundreds would be pretty impressive. I will probably never go to Sierra Vista, Arizona, where you grew up again. I don't really have any reason to go there, so I will most likely never see that, but it does sound cool. So I'll grant you that much. All right, get a little more smoke going here, and we're gonna pick it back up. This one, I would say, is among my favorites for song titles. This is the first rule of Tautology Club. Is the first rule of Tautology Club. Well, you guys are picking up the slack very nicely in the absence of Doc. We have passed our 100 messages message. I get a message that says we've had 100 messages, and it wants me to tweet it. And I think Twitter is stupid. And the reason I think Twitter is stupid is because it's social media, and I think that social media is stupid. So I'm not gonna Twitter it. And but it's fun. So you guys are kicking it in the chat. We don't need no Doc. What do we got going on here? Something about pizza. I need to see what's going on here. Okay, we got past the hot air balloons. I've been thinking about traveling there to get some of your favorite foods. No, that's actually pretty close for Renee and I. It's like, what do you do when you want different food? Yeah, you get a different kind of pizza. Usually I get pepperoni pizza, but sometimes I put sausage on it too because I have range of foods that I like to eat. I remember Vinny's. I believe that you and I went there once when you were like 9 or so. I went down to visit you guys there. You might have been a little older than that. If I'm thinking of the right place, it's entirely possible I'm not. Biscuits and gravy, that's good. That's good. In our little town here, we don't have very many restaurants, so we eat at home a lot. But that's a good thing too. And I make pretty kicking pizzas, so I don't really need to experiment with pizza these days. Cholesterol just spiked because we're old. Yeah, we are. We kind of are. Thank you very much, Glenn. Greatly appreciated. 12. Okay, yeah. That must have been. Was that the time that I did the road trip down in Grandma and Grandpa's van, and then when we left, I forgot my bag back at your mom's house, and we got to like almost Los Angeles, and I'm like, hey, could you grab that bag? And you're like, I don't see it. And we pull into Los Angeles, and sure enough, no bag. So, fun trip. And one of the best things about that, so we're road tripping from Arizona to Washington State. And we're getting into Los Angeles, and we're, of course, looking around, and Renee, 12 years old, she's like, I don't get it. Why do people want to live here? And I'm like, yeah, I don't get it either. It makes no sense. This is not a great place. Yeah, she did. Yeah, we stopped into a town called Weed, California, and she got bought her a t-shirt that said, I love weed. Because, I'm just a good parent to a 12-year-old, apparently, and I do those kinds of things. Yeah, and then because I didn't have any spare clothes with me, I actually wore the t-shirt. It was a large enough t-shirt for me to wear, because 12-year-old girls are into big t-shirts. So I finished the trip wearing that t-shirt, and got home, and yeah, fortunately her mom was nice enough to send my bag up, so I got my stuff back. Pegasus Pizza, I've heard of Pegasus Pizza out there, and I've heard good things about that place. They actually bake the pepperoni first too. Oh, dude. So copy, paste, because I have to try that now. I have to try baking the pepperoni to remove the stuff. That's a great idea. That's brilliant. And I made a pizza steel a while back. I've been cooking my pizzas on a pizza stone for years, which is very popular. And then I read about people using a pizza steel, which is it's a 1/4 inch thick, 15-inch diameter steel plate. And you just basically get all the chemicals off. There's it's called mill scale, kind of a black coating on steel that not safe for you. So you sand all that down and season it up, and I gotta say they're kind of hard to use because the grease just spills all over. And I use that for my thin crust. I haven't tried my thick crust on it yet. I need to do that. But my thin crust, I cook at 500. So you got this 500 degree, 15-inch, quarter inch thick steel plate you're trying to use. Oh yeah, we were cruising up I-5 out of Los Angeles. And it's like almost, every other exit, there's a sign for a Denny's. So we're cruising along, and I'm like, hey, are you starting to get hungry? And it's like, yeah, a little bit. I'm like, okay, why don't we, and then there was like a Denny's on the horizon, right? And we weren't very hungry, but we're kind of getting there. And so I'm like, I'll tell you what, why don't we stop at the next Denny's? We'll skip this one, we'll stop at the next one. And then it was like 2 hours before there was another Denny's. And it's like, that just doesn't happen. What is wrong with you, California? Get your head in the game. Come on. So, yeah, by the time we did get to the next Denny's, we were very hungry. It was a fun trip. Fun trip. Good, fun for the whole family, which was, just the two of us. All right. Let's stop screwing around, Randy. Let's play some music. This is a slower song, B minor. Very enjoyable piece of music, this one. I think this might be my favorite one off of this album. And when I did this album, I actually, because I was working on doing videos for all the recordings, I actually recorded this album, I think like 9 times. And I was kind of working out my process for how to, do the videos and do the music and everything, and getting ready for the whole, album a week thing, working out the process. And so the recording that I released, I don't think was actually my best on this song, but it worked out with the video and everything. So let's see if I can get a little better take here tonight. Now I may be jinxing myself. Damn it, California. Nonetheless, let California do what it does. We're going to do what we do. I'm going to play this song. This is called Learning to Fall. With all of your 64 or so albums, you need to put out a Beware the Mad Poet's Greatest Hits album. One difficulty in that, I've never had the greatest hit. I mean, I guess it depends on how you measure it. You know, I can do like a fan favorites or something, but technically I have never had a greatest hit. So I've already done that. It's a blank CD. Comfort food, Denny's, yeah, IHOP. Yeah, IHOP and Denny's, I think those are about equivalent. I probably like IHOP a little better than Denny's. I think, I don't think they're quite the same. They're similar stuff, but I like IHOP a little better. Neither of them make pancakes nearly as good as the homemade pancakes I do here, so. I'll grant you that. I haven't been to either one of those in a long time either. Denny's, smash a whole appetizer plate of nachos. Yeah. True story. Yeah, you guys loved your nachos. Cool. All right. Well, I'm not a superstitious kind of person. I've had a few times I have a dream and then it's like, oh, hey, that's kind of freaky. That kind of happened in real life. People talk a lot about those prophetic dreams they have. But this one is more on my line. This song is called Prophetic Nightmares. I missed 2 weeks in a row. I totally missed it. Because, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, that was the G sharp minor portion of the evening. Last week I did the exact same thing. I started playing, I'm like, oh, G sharp. It's like, I need to look at the key signatures before I start the music. Yep. What we got going on? We're talking about broccoli, fat, sugar, and pure yumminess. Oh, cheese is so good. Yeah, Doc and his vile comments about cheese. Cheese is a must-have, it's true. It certainly helps. You used to have a coworker who'd order pizza without cheese. If you run into that person, do not tell them about my show. I do not want them to be a fan. That's just sick and wrong. You can tell them I said they're sick and wrong, but just don't even tell them that I do live shows because they don't need to know. And yeah, you know, I'll let people with mushrooms be here, but they're wrong too. Just let it be known. That is wrong. G sharp minor, who knew? Me. That's who knew. It really does show that it doesn't mean anything because no one else knows if I don't tell them that we're doing G sharp minor. There are a few people, like if my friend Viv was watching, she would know exactly what key everything was in because she has perfect pitch. But most people have no idea what's going on with the keys in a song. Myself included, I do not have a great musical ear. A lot of people think that I would, but I just really don't. I don't have much of an ear for music. I create my music very analytically, mathematically. And it works. It works. There are a lot of ways you can approach the creation of music. And some people are very intuitive, some people are very analytical, and some people have different ways of listening to it and different ways of audiating and all kinds of stuff. This method kind of works for me to create what I want to create, but definitely don't have a good musical ear. I do know what I like though. And now that we're moving into the last song of the evening, I do like picking it up, getting fast, having some fun with it. Yeah, and I like the title of this next song too. This is called 1,000 Fears. Yeah, I've heard Tom talk before about his old guitar teacher. She sounds like she was pretty awesome. And yeah, I've been teaching now for about 15 years. I know a few people who have just been like, you know what, teaching's not worth it. It's tough. I mean, a lot of students don't show up on a regular basis. Very few students ever practice and get things done. And it's always that thing is like, how can I, as a teacher, get this person just totally lit on fire so all they want to do is play guitar? Like I've got a student right now that his parents have actually come to me and said, we got to slow him down a little bit because he plays all this. Was probably 2 years ago they did this, and he's going for it, man. He's doing great. I've had a few students like that over the years, but it's not the norm. But the thing is, most people don't really want to play guitar, and that's whether you have a teacher or not. If you really want it, you'll be unstoppable. You will just find where you'll get up early. Christopher Parkening was like that. He would get up an hour early so he could practice before he went to school. And Randy Rhoads was known for he'd be on the road with Ozzy, and he would go take lessons from local guitar teachers because they knew stuff he didn't. It's just the always learning thing, and that's not going to be for everyone. Some people get into martial arts and they do that, but most people who get into martial arts don't. And some people want to, learn how to paint or learn how to draw or do photography, and most people aren't going to do it. And that's okay. I think it's good to experiment through life and find the thing that works for you. Thank you very much for the compliments. Yes. Looking and feeling effortless takes a lot of time. You got to put a lot of hours in. And basically, you got to put in a lot of effort to make it look like you didn't feel like you didn't put in any effort. There's actually an Italian word for that called sprezzatura. It's one of my favorite words. You practice so much that it looks like you didn't need to practice. It's a beautiful thing, really. Nonetheless, this was a fun show, you guys. Thanks. This was a really good crowd tonight over in our chat, having a lot of fun, talking about cheese and mushrooms. The people who like mushrooms are wrong. It's not just an opinion, it happens to be the truth. But that's the way it is. Nonetheless, thank you very much. I'm the Mad Poet. You are an audience. Go visit my website, themadpoet.net, where you can hear all 64 of my albums. Thank you for the compliments. Thank you for being here. And we will play another album